More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
International Radio Tours broadcasting program is designed to assist artists, writers, producers, musicians, published authors, and organizations promoting their work throughout the world. To learn more, visit online at internationalradiotours.org.
There are a few moments in everyone's life. Those moments when you will always remember where you were and what you were doing. It was a bright, sunny September morning in New York City. It was a perfect day in Manhattan.
Frank McGinley was standing on the corner of Broadway and Rector Street when the South Tower came down. He was less than 2 blocks away. It happened, yet he never saw it. He had walked out of the front door of the American Stock Exchange 20 minutes earlier, thinking, the hell with this. I'm out of here. Frank had been standing in the broker's lounge watching TV when the second plane hit. The concussion impacted seconds after he watched it, shaking the building and everyone in it to their core. His mind reeled and he ran up the stairs to the main floor. Someone was on the loudspeakers urging people to stay calm and remain inside the building. Frank looked around at the place where he had worked for 16 years and was swept up in a group panic. Some women were crying, guys were muttering curses, some stiff with fear, others scrambling to get out. Frank simply turned and walked down the main steps out the front door and stepped into hell. The first thing Frank noticed was the debris falling from the sky and the smell. As he looked across the street at the Trinity Church graveyard, he thought of parades down Broadway and the paper and ticker tape that would be hanging from the trees. Today, the paper floating down was on fire. Ticker tape replaced by office furniture, plane parts, and chunks of cement. It couldn't be real. There was just too much to deal with at once. He stood there, frozen. A piece of paper caught his eye. It floated down toward his feet, still aflame. How hot was it up there that the paper floated all the way down without the flame extinguishing? Frank shut down. He stood there, a solitary figure, a fast-motion film swirling around him. The events were too harsh, coming at him too fast. He broke. He didn't run. He didn't cry. Frank's legs were planted on the street. He was a deer, looking into the world's largest headlight. People wonder how they'd react when they're faced with death, how they'd deal with it. Frank instinctively knew what to do. He ran and repeated, "Oh my God, oh my God," over and over. He made a left onto Stone Street, trying to get out, off the pathway. There was a little more light on Stone. He felt like someone put a gun to his head and pulled the trigger. But the gun didn't fire. He made a right onto Broad Street from Stone, down to the FDR. A cop at the end of the street was herding people over to Battery Park. Frank's first thought was, we're under attack, and you expect me to stand with a bunch of people in a park, out in the open? He blew past the cop and headed up the ramp to the FDR. The entire area was covered in smoke now. No time to think. He sprinted up the FDR and looked over to the Brooklyn Bridge to see if it was still standing. He finally made it out to a major street. Was it Pearl? People were looking downtown, hands covering their faces. Most were crying. The rest simply stared in utter disbelief. Southern Manhattan was a white cloud. An old Chinese man next to him said, "It's gone. It's all gone." He turned around to a deli with the metal gates down. The owners probably worried about looters. In an instant, the world around him had changed. His mind couldn't keep pace with the enormity of the events that just took place. The deli workers were handing water bottles out through the gate, the first of many New York acts of kindness to come. He downed half the bottle in one shot and looked back downtown, understanding one thing. Just about everyone he knew, all of his friends, were dead. Frank finished off the bottle and glanced once more. He felt uneasy on his feet, and the sidewalk seemed to feel soft below him, like an old gym mat. He screamed for someone to help him, but didn't make a sound. The world suddenly went black, and he collapsed.
Welcome to International Radio Book Tours. This is your host, Rich Galhausen. Today we're featuring author John Nuckel, Wall Street Insider, who's authored a trilogy, actually a continuing book series. What you were just listening to was a reading from his first book, the-vig, the introduction. John will be on International Radio Book Tour from through October 20th. John, welcome to our program.
Oh, thanks, Rich. How are you?
Very good. John, that was pretty dramatic, that introduction.
You didn't think we'd get James Earl Jones on this job, did you?
No, not at all. No. John, I want to talk about that. You had a similar experience on 9/11.
Yeah, that is